Hello everyone, today's lesson is lesson 45, classifying quadrilaterals. So remember that quadrilaterals are polygons with 4 sides. So all of these shapes are quadrilaterals because they all have 4 sides, but they all have different shapes. Okay. Now, we can classify or sort quadrilaterals into different types, such as squares, rectangles, parallelograms, and trapezoids. Okay, so one way quadrilaterals are sorted is by parallel sides. So remember, parallel sides run parallel or the same direction and remain the same distance apart. Okay, so these are pictures of parallelograms. Parallelograms have 2 pairs of parallel sides. Oh, I've got it written down here. Why don't you write it down? 2 pairs of parallel sides. Okay, so we can show those parallel sides here. So we have left and right and top and bottom. Okay, this one has this angle, this line and this line, and then these two. Okay, these have left and right and top and bottom. Okay, top and bottom, left and right. Do you see how we have 2 pairs? Left and right, and then top and bottom. Okay, now parallelograms are quadrilaterals with 2 pairs of parallel sides. Okay, and that's just one way to classify. So quadrilaterals are broken into 3 groups. We've got parallelograms, trapezoids, and trapeziums. Okay. So a trapezoid is a different type of of a quadrilateral. Trapezoids have only 1 pair of parallel sides. That's why they're not parallelograms. So you can see here, we have a parallel side top and bottom, but the left and right are not parallel. If I continued these lines, they would run into each other. Okay, so trapezoids only have 1 pair of parallel lines. Okay, so on this one we can see it's top and bottom, and this one is left and right. Okay, so it can be either of the sides, but it only has 1 pair. Now, some quadrilaterals have no parallel sides, okay, and we call those trapeziums. So these ones, trapeziums means no pairs of parallel lines. Okay, and I spelled parallel wrong. There we go. So you can see with all of these lines, they all will run into each other. Okay, if I extend the lines, like these ones already are running into each other, but even these other ones, if I continue the lines, they'll eventually run into each other. So trapeziums have no pairs of parallel lines. Okay, so on this problem it says, draw an example of a parallelogram, a trapezoid, and a trapezium. So to draw a parallelogram, I begin by drawing 2 parallel line segments that are the same length. Okay. Then I'm going to draw 2 more segments between the endpoints. Okay, and there I have a parallelogram. This one happens to look like a rectangle. Okay. To draw a trapezoid, I first start off by drawing 2 parallel lines that are different lengths. Okay, and then I connect them. So this is my parallelogram, and this is my trapezoid. Okay. To draw a trapezium, I begin by drawing 2 segments that are not parallel. I also don't want them to intersect. I don't want them to run into each other. So it's kind of like that. And then I'm going to connect the lines, the 2 at the endpoints. Okay, so this is my trapezium. All right, So, quadrilaterals can be divided into parallelograms, trapezoids, and trapeziums. Now, parallelograms can be divided into more pieces. Okay, so a parallelogram with the congruent angles is called a rectangle. Okay, that means that all of the rectangles are right angles. Okay, that's what the definition of a rectangle. So rectangles would look like this. All the rectangles have 4 right angles. Okay, even if it's tilted, it still has 4 right angles. Okay. Now, a rhombus is a parallelogram with 4 congruent sides, which means that all of the sides are the same length. Okay, so here are these rhombuses, and you can see that these sides are all the same length. Okay. So then we'd call that a rhombus. Okay. Now, the last one is a square. Now, squares are both rectangles and rhombuses, because squares have to have equal sides and they have to have 90-degree angles. So a square is a special type of rectangle and rhombus. Okay, so this says this figure is an example of a square. Which of the following could not be a square? So parallelogram, rectangle, rhombus, or trapezoid. Well, remember the definition of a square is that it has to have equal sides. Okay. And it has 90-degree angles. So the only one that could not be a square is the trapezoid, because the trapezoid will not have lengths or sides that are the same length. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and name these shapes. So this one could be a parallelogram or a rectangle. This next one could only be a trapezoid. This third one is a rhombus. Okay. D is a trapezium. E is a parallelogram. And F could be a square. We call this one a square. We could call this a rhombus. Or we could even call it a rectangle. But its most common name is a square. Hey, and that's it for this lesson. Good luck on your homework.